Good morning, everyone. I am Aaron Blumberg, Swiftland's Continuing Education Coordinator, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Music and Art Equals Loud and Messy, Not Always. We have a wonderful learning opportunity ready for you this morning with Ryan and Hillary Shore of Full Steam Ahead. Full Steam Ahead is an enrichment program that integrates the arts and sciences through high-quality, engaging instruction with cutting-edge technology. Learning is hands-on, project-based, and very fun. They help students become creative, fearless problem solvers, possessing the skills to confidently tackle the future. Please welcome Ryan and Hillary and enjoy their webinar this morning. Ryan and Hillary?
Hi there, everybody.
Hey, everybody. We're coming to you live today from Full Steam Ahead. We've got our summer camps in full swing. I hear the echoes of children behind us, but hopefully it'll be nice and quiet for you.
Hopefully none of them break into the room and join us. So, welcome to our webinar. Thank you for joining us. What we are going to be doing today is making an argument that quality STEAM activities and learning that involve music and art, but they don't interfere with the library atmosphere. We're really going to be working to give you ideas and activities so that you can start integrating art and music-based activities and lessons into your library.
And as always, we want to advocate for the need for STEAM activities in non-traditional learning environments. And, you know, ourselves, we are in a non-traditional learning environment. Libraries are non-traditional learning environments. So it's very important that we give kids these opportunities here because they're not always getting it in school. And finally, we want to help you guys to create a vetting process for your own quality STEAM activities. We have tons and tons and tons of ideas for you, but you know, if you teach a man to fish, he'll have fish for a lifetime. If you give a man a fish, he'll have fish for a day, or something along those lines. So
Brian
if we
really likes fishing.
Yeah, I do. That's true. But if we can help you come up with a process for creating and identifying your own excellent STEAM activities, then you'll be much better off in the future than just following our list.
All right, so who are we? Well, Full Steam Ahead is a program that my husband and I started. It's an extracurricular enrichment program focused on the arts and sciences. So I'll introduce my husband.
Hello.
That's the guy on the left. His name is Ryan Shore. He is the co-founder and STEM guru here at Full Steam Ahead. He brings a great deal of public education experience, and he won Golden Apple. And he is he's our STEM guy here. He does a lot of curriculum and program design.
And my wonderful wife, who's on the right over there, she is the co-founder and the music guru here at Full Steam Ahead. So we'll be hearing a lot from her today because this is our arts and music focused webinar. She's got a year up on me in public education, and every step of the way she was a statewide leader. She worked on all kinds of different committees from assessment to curriculum planning and everything in between. She specializes in music curriculum and development and instruction. So we'll be hearing from her quite a bit in her expertise today.
And before we really get into this, Ryan and I really like to keep the things we do engaging and fun. So, you know, you can help us through this webinar by participating. Remember, there are two of us here, so if you guys have any questions or comments while one of us is talking, the other one can type in the chat box and help you out to really make this really beneficial for you guys. And if you agree and disagree and the laughing, all that kind of stuff, we love hearing who's out there and hearing what you have to say.
We're teachers by trade, so it's tough for us to stand up here and just talk without any feedback and without interacting with our groups. Elementary teachers at that.
So getting into it, so what is STEAM? I'm sure you know this already, but STEAM traditionally is science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. Since I am so heavily music focused, we are music/math. But more than that, for us, it's a mindset, and it creates it combines multiple disciplines in a way that encourages and builds really important skills in our children. Creativity, problem solving, critical thinking. It really just shows kids how to solve problems, dive into issues fearlessly, and learn how to put it together and not give up when it gets tough, all the while building that knowledge base and confidence so that they can dive in and do all of that.
And I think most importantly for us, our mission is not to teach content, but it's to give opportunities to kids to try out new things, to pursue alternative passions, to experiment and explore without a fear of failure. So often in traditional education, that fear of failure is always looming, and it's a very narrow vision of what intelligence is. And STEAM allows us to expand that and teach some of these kids their life's most valuable skills.
Definitely. So, STEM versus STEAM, we believe in the arts being integrated and that they go hand in hand. And it's just so essential that we have the arts in there, as you'll see as we go on today. So we want to know where you stand. So if you want to either draw a little mark on the screen to show us if you are more on the STEM side of things, or if you're pretty comfortable with getting the arts integrated, or you can just type it in the chat box.
All right, we'll open up the drawing tool for you so you can see that.
There you go. So you can.
So if you see on the left there should be a little pen. So you can just make a mark. I'm going to make my little mark. I'm going to write my initial here. I'm somewhere around there in the STEM versus STEAM continuum. If you want to try to draw on your own screen, go for it.
I'm going to put mine over
Or
here.
you can type it in the chat box, of course.
There we go. There's mine.
All the way to the edge of music.
Yep. Would love to include any music-related programs. Awesome, Gretchen. Yeah, we've got you on this. We've got a lot of things planned that are going to hopefully be able to go into your library program seamlessly without stirring things up too much, but just enough that keeps people excited. A new position is the art teacher and media specialist. Oh, that's fantastic.
A big role, Amy.
Yeah,
awesome. Congratulations. Look at this. We have a lot of STEAM-focused people. That's great. I'm glad I'm not all alone over here. Whoever's writing that over above the engineering. That's yeah. We'll hang out today.
Excellent. All right. Well, we're going to push forward here. Okay. So just to show you this real quick, in the brain we've got our left brain, which focuses mostly on controlling the muscle movements on the right side, and then language, math, logic, and the analytical skills. And then on the right, it's the imagery, the art, music, the emotion, the creativity.
So when we're doing STEM activities, we're largely focusing on the left side of the brain, the left brain functions. And if you don't ever start to incorporate the arts, the more creative side, the more spatial recognition, then we really miss out on all these things that the right brain is so great at doing. So that's why incorporating the A into STEM is so incredibly important, and I'm glad we have so many people who are already in tune with that.
We work to integrate everything. So what is art?
So, art is a very tough term to nail down because it can be so general and it can be used in so many ways. But here's the definition. There are a couple circle definitions that I particularly like. The expression or application of human creative skill and imagination. Now, it says typically in a visual form. I don't really agree with that, but anytime we're allowing people to be creative and be imaginative and express that creativity and imagination, we're doing art, we're creating art. I also like at the bottom a skill at doing a specified thing, typically one acquired through practice. So I really like that definition as well, because it helps us encourage kids to say, well, great, you can be creative and be imaginative with very little practice whatsoever. But in order to create really great, amazing things, it often takes years and years and years and years of practice.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to take this second to kind of broaden our definition of the arts. A lot of people, when they hear the arts, they think about these four things on the left. They think about the visual arts, dance, music, and drama. When we talk about the arts, especially as a STEAM organization here, we're really taking into consideration a lot more things than visual arts is a very broad definition, but I also like to include things like photography and film, things like engineering, even creative writing. You can see on the right here, there's quite a few things that could be included into this arts umbrella. And the more I teach engineering, the more I teach architecture, the more I've done creative writing in the past, the more I'm convinced that these are just art forms disguised as science, disguised as STEM.
All right, so what does STEAM look like with the arts integrated? Well, here are a whole bunch of pictures you can take a peek at. But basically for us and for everyone, it's a little bit different. Chaotic but organized. We have a lot on each extreme. Loud but very focused.
Today we're going to try to do the more focused, not so much the loud.
Yes. And so we have in the top left corner here, we've got someone doing the playing the ukulele while hula hooping, and then we also have kids who have made a photo booth. And then down in the bottom, we have kids designing something with little bits. And then you also see my keyboard lab over there with the guitars and ukulele. So there's a lot happening.
And STEAM can look like many, many different things all at once.
Absolutely. And now, so this is my music classroom. I have keyboards set up and guitars, ukuleles over here. Some random classroom instruments, not a whole ton, but plenty. It definitely gets the job done. This over here, the headphones and the splitters, they are the reason why I would recommend incorporating a keyboard lab into your music program at your library. My keyboard classes, as I'll talk to you about in a couple minutes, are some of the quietest, most calm classes that we have here at Full Steam Ahead.
That's true. I can vouch for that.
So more about that later, but this is what my music classroom looks like. And then, just a couple tips then as you are planning your music or art activity.
So as we said, we want to give you some ideas about how we vet music activities or art activities or STEAM activities in general. And here's the things that we're looking for. First, we're looking for scalability. Scalability meaning to us that, it can be taken and applied to a broad range of skills and a broad range of ages. So we like lessons that, even a kindergartner can start with, but it could be advanced enough for high schoolers to use it as well. As always, we're looking for strong links to STEAM skills. So the more STEAM skills we can pile on, the better we're doing for ourselves. We like to take art and music concepts and tie them back into engineering, tie them back into technology as well. This goes with the scalability, a low entry level and a high ceiling. This is really essential for a lot of our lessons because we get kids, and in other activities, you'll get kids with all kinds of different background knowledge. If you have a low entry level, anybody can start. Anybody is accessible to the lesson. But a high ceiling, your kids that are already advanced, your kids that already have some knowledge about that, they're not going to get stuck. They're not going to be limited in what they could do. We always want to keep our lessons engaging. We like to play into popular trends like fidget spinners and Minecraft. Oh, yeah. We'll give you some ideas.
Any songs that are popular, they're easier than you think to replicate them and use them in lessons.
And then we like our lessons to be hands-on and open-ended.
Okay, so just a little bit more on the low entry, high ceiling lessons. When you are having a group of children with you, they get bored for three main reasons. They're not interested, maybe it's too hard, or it's too easy. So that's where you really have to keep it engaging and find a song that they like. Find something that's popular that's instantly going to grab their attention, and then you play right into that. And then you want to make sure that it starts somewhere that they'll be able to do it, but then for the kids who might already know what they're doing, that they can push farther and go deeper. So, very important to work that into your lessons. So, as we said, and there are a couple more pictures of our program if you take a peek. Less talking, let them explore. It's definitely something that we've learned as we got out of public education. When we started, we thought we needed to be teaching at them and telling them things, and constant instruction. But what we've found is when you let them explore and you give them questions to answer, they can really do some amazing things when you let them get into it.
Yeah, an entirely different type of learning can take place at that point. And they get plenty of preaching. The goal is to be the guide on the side rather than the sage on the stage. We want to be the facilitators for our kids rather than, just the purveyor of knowledge.
Okay. So we're going to dive into the art side of things. So using geometry and color to expand creativity and explore artistic concepts. So we're going to get into some of them.
So I want to start our section on art here by giving you a quick anecdote, a personal anecdote here about how STEAM has helped me discover my inner artist. I never really considered myself much of an artist, and I think a lot of STEM focused people would fall into that boat, and a lot of kids fall into that boat as well. But what I've learned through STEAM, and I mentioned this earlier on, is that, engineering, architecture, in a lot of ways, technology, those are art forms all in of themselves. One of my favorite tools we're going to talk about a little bit later is Tinkercad. You can see here these are some of my silly models in Tinkercad. But I didn't really put it together that this was helping me become a better artist until I was playing with Play-Doh with my 2-year-old son. He wanted me to build a turtle, and right away I started thinking about a turtle. Now, in the past, I'd just take a Play-Doh, I'd kind of rough out a turtle. We'd, put a big ball of Play-Doh together and hope for the best. But what this has helped me to do is to think analytically, to break complex shapes down into simpler shapes. And that's what artists are able to do. And that's what creative and analytical thinkers are able to do. And I found myself looking at my Play-Doh creations and saying, wow, these are really good. Like I made a shark that looked a lot like a shark. It was really good. And I had never really been good at sculpture. I never really considered myself artistic. But this technology and a STEAM lens had given me a creative outlet. And so I've been really impressed by how this is able to do that. So we're going to give you some more ways you can give kids their creative outlet.
Yes, and Ryan will explain why exactly Tinkercad and 3D modeling has developed and improved his artistic skills. You'll understand that in a couple minutes. A couple apps that I would like to share with you. These are the next couple slides are iPad art lessons. Some relatively simple things that you can do with the kids to get them exploring. So the camera kaleidoscope. It creates an effect by reflecting images through the live camera, through the native camera app. And it helps kids learn to look. So they see new colors and shapes, and then you can trace these, you can draw over top of them, and they can learn a lot about shape and line and different art skills. If you look at the picture of this one right here, this is what it started as. You can see a variation of flowering, some food. And then, if you look at these pictures, it takes you through the progression of how the camera kaleidoscope app switches it up. And you can still look for the shapes, and then you can kind of work backwards and see if you could figure out from here what this image might be. And it really gets the kids thinking deeper and looking on it at another level at the images that they're painting and they're working with. And then you can also find different, like I said, different art skills and concepts within it. So another one, this one works great for the little kids, the Taisui Tamgram. And so this is really good because it lets kids build with shapes, but it's designed to be logo creation, where you get the kids thinking about what they're trying to sell or what they're trying to create an image to represent, and then they use geometric shapes to put it together. So with no words to do the talking, they can use the principles of art and design to communicate, and I think that's something really, really cool for our kids. And then another app I wanted to share with you. Oops, sorry. Another app I wanted to share with you is the Silhouette Creation app. My voice is garbled and bouncing around. Okay.
Let's try a little bit. Maybe that'll help.
Okay. All right, is this any better? I'll keep talking and then type in the box to let me know if it's improving. So for our silhouette creation, we have, so what you do is you take a profile. Okay, thank you, Amy. So you take, no, not doing any dancing. Okay, thanks, Gretchen. So we take a picture on the regular camera of your phone, and then you trace over it. Now, tracing is a really important skill that you can actually learn a lot from. You create a strong contrast of a profile picture with black and white, and then you use the ArtSet app to create a digital silhouette. So if you've ever seen those Victorian style paper cuts, this is something that you can kind of create with this app as an overlay from your picture. So this is one lesson that I highly recommend. It's a lot of fun, it's easy, and the kids do a really good job with it.
All right, and sticking with our high-tech art lessons, so our mess-free art lessons here, there's a really amazing tool that I only started using recently called Paint.net. Paint.net is basically a free version of Photoshop, and for a very long time I've been wanting to work with Photoshop with my kids, but it is very much so cost prohibitive, and especially because we're working with elementary kids, middle school kids who would not even be scratching the surface of, what's possible with Photoshop. I started doing Photoshop because way back in the day I started doing coding, and so I started doing websites, and so naturally I started doing a little bit of graphic design, and so Photoshop was just kind of a natural progression for me. But then I was kind of lost for a little while until I discovered Paint.net to use with the kids. Now, best thing about Paint.net, it is free. So it's basically a thinned out version of Photoshop. It has a Photoshop-like workflow. It allows you to edit existing images and apply photo effects. It's a pretty good drawing app as well. Not so much as Illustrator or anything like that, but I've seen some really amazing creations within Paint.net. It kind of takes the old MS Paint app that came with the old computers and puts it on steroids and applies some Photoshop-like techniques to it. It supports plugins, which means that you can essentially modify the software with free plugins that allows you to perform other special features. Like Photoshop, it deals with a professional style layer-based image creation, meaning that you can edit the image in different layers, which allows you to play with different parts of it separately without messing other things up. I'd like to reiterate that it is free. And it's also pretty simple to download. It's actually, don't go to www.paint.net. That is a Paint website. It's getpaintnet.com, I believe. So, but if you Google Paint.net, even type out the word dot, then it'll be there. Here's some examples of things that were created in Paint.net. These are done by some higher-end designers, some people with a lot of background knowledge, but I just thought they were really cool images, and they were really easy to find, and it shows you the power of Paint.net. Here's a couple more. There's some of the drawing features on the left there, and some image editing on the right, spraying on the snow there, overlapping two images. And these are things that I've done in Photoshop, and so I'm now able to teach the kids how to do these in Paint.net, having a program that I can use for free.
And quietly, without a mess.
Yes. There's also one other huge benefit of Paint.net is that there is an online forum with thousands and thousands and thousands of tutorials and help posts. And you can see here, there's over, this was from the other day, there's over 2,000 beginner tutorials or posts on beginner tutorials. There's 11,000 different creations. So it's a very well-established community about Paint.net that can help you get started. Now, a really cool tool, we actually have one of our teachers doing this as we speak right now, is stop motion animation. Stop motion is a true art form, and there's some really amazing creations out there. If you just Google or YouTube stop motion, you'll see some crazy cool things. But stop motion can be pretty simple, and it can help the kids learn the basics of film. And there's a lot of lighting about scene setup, spacing, angle. So there's a lot that can go into creating really good stop motion. So the process is pretty simple. You create a plot for your movie, you design the set, which brings in artistic and engineering elements, and then you take a picture. Then you move a piece a little bit and then take another picture and then repeat that several thousand times, or as much as the kids have patience for. Now, there's some apps, there's some ways to set this up that can help make it much, much, much easier. Here's some ideas for how to do that. So if you have an iPad, this can make life way easier. We usually have 2 or 3 kids to an iPad, so if we have a group of 12, we only need 3 or 4 iPads. There's a Minecraft kit you can get, which we talked about, high interest, high engaging. Costs about $25. It comes with all the things you see here, plus some other things, and there's a free app that goes with it as well. And it allows you to it takes care of the backdrop, it takes care of the setting, it takes care of the creators, or the characters, and it's a really easy entry level for stop motion for kids. Helps them kind of get used to the workflow, helps them get used to keeping the camera perfectly still, and some other things as well. Similarly, there's a really neat tool called StickBot. You can get it at Target, you can get it on Amazon. We have both of these sets here. Here's 8 StickBots. They have little suction cup hands and feet, which allow them to move around and stick to things. And so you can move them just a little bit at a time, and you can stick them to all kinds of surfaces. You can use it across different tablets, across different operating systems. And you can buy the green screen, or green paper or green fabric works just as well. The StickBot Studio app is free as well. So even if you don't have StickBots, you can still use the Studio app and get a lot of use out of it. Now, if you're doing this on a budget, then you can let the kids use your phone. I've done that quite a bit in the early days of Full Steam Ahead before we had a lot of devices. And generally, they're very respectful. I've never had a kid break my phone. There's a Lego Movie Maker app that you can use, also free. If you get some Legos, there's a ton of Lego stop motion. In fact, there's an entire Lego movie. And kids love to do this with Legos. And it's super simple to set up, and it helps kids practice these elements of film.
All right, so then another piece that we'll tell you about is mixing robotics with art. So I'm going to tell you about light painting with Sphero. Now, Sphero is a little robot that you use an iPad to steer and move him around. How's my voice, by the way? Are we muffled, or are we okay so far? Okay, good. The way it works is you use an app called the Slow Shutter app. And you can experiment with the light sensitivity and shutter speeds while you are recording the Sphero moving. And so you set the settings in your camera in this camera app so that it's on a light trail mode. That basically means it's the highest sensitivity and the longest shutter speed possible.
If you've ever seen those pictures of, the red lines in like a traffic scene at night where there's just the blurred red lines coming across the roads, that's kind of the same thing. That's the slow shutter speed with high light sensitivity.
So to get started with it, if you set up a target space that's going to be where your Sphero is moving and rolling around, and by the way, the Sphero has a light, so you can see the bright light as he's moving, which is why it gets picked up so well with the camera. So you put him in the top left corner, and then you just steer him down towards the bottom right, and you're going to record his movement. So this is what it looks like, what you can record. You see these bright lines with great colors moving across the screen, and then you can play with the settings to make it much more interesting. And then as each time you have something recorded, you want to keep some of these questions moving with the kids. What does it look like? Did it capture the light trail, or did you need to change something with your settings? Can you get it to draw an actual picture? And did it go the way you thought you did? What can you change within your settings to improve it? So the kids love this one. They get to use the iPads while being creative and then also playing with a robot. So it's
Win,
kind of-
win, win,
yeah,
win, and
on a lot of
win.
levels.
All right, some fun little projects you can do. There's a couple there's lots of variations on the ArtBot, but on the left we have LittleBits ArtBot. If you've never seen LittleBits, it's kind of like Snap Circuits. If you've never seen Snap Circuits, they're basically modular snap together circuit kits. They allow you to create all kinds of different electronic circuits that can perform a million different functions. But the ArtBot has been a really fun project for us to do as well. Now you can see that the ArtBot on the left and the right, the left one is actually kind of cool, the creation it's making. The ArtBot on the right is, quite abstract, but it looks really cute and it's a fun project. And with this one, all you need is, the one on the right, the classic ArtBot, all you need is a cup, a battery pack, a motor, some stuff on top to help the motor vibrate or move around a little bit. And then you just tape some markers to the cup, and so as it moves, it draws. And so this is a good way to mix technology and abstract art and have the kids create a really unique piece. Nice and quiet, it's not too messy, and butcher paper in situations like these is endlessly valuable. All right, so on to my personal favorite and one of our last art activities that we're going to talk in depth about here, Tinkercad. I mentioned it earlier. Tinkercad we use all the time. In fact, it shows up in most of our webinars, most of our workshops, just because we have so many different uses for it. It's an amazing program that gives kids the power to create 3D models, and we've had kids create unbelievable things. Now, what I really love about Tinkercad is it develops kids' literacy, computer literacy. We have a lot of kids that are still getting used to using the mouse, using the keyboard, using a three-dimensional workspace, and it helps with that. It forces kids, and me, to think analytically, which is what I attribute to me all of a sudden being very good at Play-Doh sculpture with my 2-year-old. It provides an artistic medium for techies. So, people that don't consider themselves artistic, they all of a sudden can create really cool things using this technology-based medium. Kids and digital natives pick it up right away. They're used to manipulating things. Video games make this way easier if you're, if kids are used to manipulating things in a 3D environment. Almost everything you make in Tinkercad is 3D printable as well. So if you have a 3D printer, then print it out and take it home. We do that all the time. One of our favorite activities here. It helps kids build spatial reasoning, and it helps build their geometric vocabulary and awareness as well. So many benefits to Tinkercad, which is why we use it all the time in 100 different ways. You saw the turtle that I built before. We had a lightsaber. May the 4th be with you. The 4th of July or 4th of May. Star Wars Throwdown, which that was built there too. So.
Have any of you ever used Tinkercad or Paint.net or any of the other art things that we've talked about? How are we doing out there? We're about to move on to the music side of things in a moment.
Not yet.
Not yet. We'll be looking at your responses. I'll keep going and tell you some of our art apps. You've used Sphero, but not for art. Okay, yes. Cool. Yeah. So some more. All right, good. Some more art apps, and this is just kind of a list that you'll be able to go back and reference. All these webinars are on the Swiftland website, so you don't feel like you need to write everything down. But this is a pretty big list of just some apps that you can use, and I made some notes about why they are useful. ZenBrush is really good. It lets you feel like you're using Japanese calligraphy brushes. Pixelmator, that's a lot like Photoshop. Photo Sketch down here, a couple boxes down. This is a lot like Photoshop too, but it's more simple. Assembly is a huge tool where you can use vector graphics. Sorry about that title, or that typo. That one is really, really useful. It's pretty complex though. It's a big app that lets you do a lot. Graphic is kind of like Adobe Illustrator. And then a couple of these down here are great apps just for getting your ideas down, just some basic things to make sketches and some simple painting. Inspire Pro is really, really good for painting. Simple enough, but it really gives you the feel of painting with oils and acrylics. Paper by 53, it's pretty simple and it's very uncluttered. So, you can kind of decide where you are with apps and, how in depth you want to get. But when you're picking which one to use.
Now, it's important to remind you guys that as we go through all these ideas, all these programs, what you want to do is choose one or two that you think are most manageable to you. That we're giving you guys a lot of information here, and we don't want it to be overwhelming, but this is kind of how we approach education in general. We want to give our kids, and we want to give you guys as many opportunities as we can to figure out what works for you. And that's an essential part of teaching art and music, or teaching STEAM in general, is you have to figure out what works for you and what you're comfortable with. So, we're hoping that through all these lists, all these resources, all these ideas, we certainly don't expect you to be experts in all of them. In fact, neither of us are experts in all of them. We all share the load here. But, to latch on to a couple would be a huge benefit to your future classrooms or your current classrooms.
And I'll just tell you the answer, Crystal. A lot of these are iOS apps. And I did these mostly because, like we know Swiftland has a set of iPads, and that seems to be the more common technology that people buy in bulk. However, me personally, I'm an Android girl. I don't have an Apple phone. I know, gasp. I don't like it. It's not my thing. So I have found if I type in any one of these into the Android market, I can find very, very similar or like the same type of version, but open to Android of all of these. And then a couple resources here. Sure, I hear you. A couple of resources. This iPad Art Room link right here is fantastic. This website has so many things that you can do with really great explanations and pictures and videos. Totally worth going to. And then this is a good list of apps, art apps, and which ones are good and what they do and their benefits. And then just here's a couple visuals of just some of the top ones that art educators tend to like the most. Okay, so with that, we're on to music. We all awake out there? Because it's gonna get fun. Okay, sorry.
It's already happened.
I think I'm funny. Anywho, music. Using music to expand creativity and explore musical concepts and skills. I'm going to start with the piano keyboard class. And I know that, I don't know if you all have a piano keyboard lab. I would assume not. But you don't need a whole set of 12 keyboards to make something like this work. It's actually something that I feel it could jive with the library atmosphere pretty well. Keyboards aren't very expensive. They might run about $50 for a decent one. And if you use headphones and you get maybe 4 keyboards, you could have the kids use a splitter for the headphones and put 2 children on a keyboard and do a keyboard class for 8 kids that's very quiet and teaches a ton of skills. So, just saying it might be more feasible than you think. You can teach some really, really basic rhythms, finger numbers, and you can get kids going with a keyboard class, especially on a beginner level. Even if you're not a pianist yourself, there's a ton you can do on the beginner level.
And I want to point out here that Hillary is a classically trained pianist. She is incredible, and she very much has a classical education in piano. So, this is certainly not the traditional approach to teaching piano,
right.
But the vast majority of our kids don't have access to a traditional approach. They don't have access to a baby grand piano or a private piano teacher. They don't have access to private lessons. So this is a great way to give kids an opportunity to try something new, to hone new skills, to be able to, access music in a public setting.
Mm-hmm. There are a lot of traditional piano teachers who kind of scoff at the idea of playing keyboard. They say that, you need not a grand, but you need a real piano. I want a grand piano. Ryan's buying me one someday.
One day.
He doesn't know that. But that you need a piano to show the kids your commitment to their music education. Listen, I don't disagree with all of that, but I think you need to start somewhere, and to reach a certain population of kids who that's not possible for them, something is better than nothing, and this might build an interest so that they can eventually one day try to get there. This is the group piano app. They're the group piano book that I use, and it walks you through everything you need. Even if you don't play piano, this can get you where you need to go. Okay, so then moving on, this is just a picture of our keyboard lab. Even if you don't have a ton of space, this is a tiny, skinny little room, and just if you're creative with your configuration, we got it. Oh, this is when I was rather pregnant. This is our keyboard lab that we have now, a little more spacious, and not a sound is happening. You see all those headphones.
Sometimes I wonder what they're up to over there.
Oh, well, you got to be on it. You got to really be looking.
Deborah, absolutely. There's quite a few.
That's a really, really good idea. Yes, there are tons of piano apps. Smule is one piano app that if you set it to the free play instead of just tapping the dots, SMULE. That's one piano app that it's the one that you see. It has little like dots that kids just touch. That's not really playing piano. That's not how I use it. But there is one setting within that app that is a keyboard that you can do all of this on that as well. And there are tons of other piano apps. I use many of them. GarageBand within iPad Music Lessons. GarageBand is awesome. This is kind of what it looks like here. Each of these are different tracks. You can pick from the sound library. This is a huge program that you can do a lot with. It's really intuitive. It's easy. Use some headphones. You won't hear a sound. It's free at first. You do have to pay $5 per instrument after that, but there's a lot you can do for free. The lesson I'm going to show you in a couple minutes is on Mixcraft, which is basically GarageBand for Windows. So this will be for your PC or for non-Apple. But all of those lessons that I'm going to be showing you, you can do on GarageBand as well. Before I get into that, here's just some other apps within the iOS market. Just for your reference, I'm not going to take time to get into each of these, but Singing Fingers is really cool. It's like finger painting, and then as you paint, it records the sound while you're painting. Simply Piano and Perfect Piano, those are, like Deborah, those are some of the piano apps that you can use. Simply Piano actually teaches note reading and listens to the sound you play on another piano, but Perfect Piano is like an open keyboard that you can play on. So definitely check these out. So now getting into some computer or web-based music. So we have Audacity over here. Audacity is a free download where you can do audio editing and use effects, change up your voice. It's lots of fun and it's free. Acoustica Mixcraft is basically like GarageBand. It is not free. It's about $80 and it's an online download, but it does all the same stuff as GarageBand. I'll be giving you a sample lesson in a minute. PreSonus Creation Suite. It's got a little MIDI keyboard, microphone. It comes with the software and headphones. That whole Creation Suite is about $300. Kids can share it, and there is a ton that they can do. It's like a mini recording studio for kids, or really for anyone. I use it too. Lots of fun, very, very useful. Flexi Music. This is a program. Like Mixcraft and GarageBand, but even more simple. This would be for your kindergarten through second grade kids. it just simplifies it and puts it with fun graphics for the kids to use.
And everything here, if you invest in a few pairs of headphones, these can be just about silent activities, which is, it's kind of amazing to see kids learning so much about music without making any noise.
And within their headphones, they have a huge symphony going on. So here's what Mixcraft looks like a little more in depth. We have this, these are the multi-tracks. These are basically each different instrument layer that you want to add on. And then this is how you adjust your volume. Library, you can pick different instruments. Master volume, each track has their own volume. We could go on about this for a really long time. We have lots more stuff that we want to share with you, but you can use this as reference. And then here is an actual lesson that you can do just as you're getting started with Mixcraft or GarageBand. They explore the sound library, and then they drag sounds up into the track, and they fill up about 8 measures, and they make their own little piece. So there is a link to a lesson plan right down here that walks you through some of this. Here's the link where if you wanted to download or buy Mixcraft, and then a couple tips and suggestions on how to make their song, their piece that they create, how to make it successful and how to make it sound good. Now, going the other direction, low-tech music, board games, they're pretty cool. They can work. These are a couple books that I like, that I use from time to time. Music Olympics. It lets you kind of design your own things and gives you the templates and the resources to do it. So that's another way to integrate music into your program. And then this is something else that in one of my music makers classes that the kids were getting a little antsy. They wanted to get outside and moving around and playing. So we brought them outside with some chalk onto the sidewalk outside, and I taught them how to draw treble clefs. You make a line, and then a capital P, a lowercase d, and then swirl it around. So they drew a whole bunch of treble clefs, and then I had them drawing the staff, the 5 lines. Here's your treble clef, and then labeling the notes. And then they all had their own, so they are kind of working independently. And then we got together, we made one giant life-size staff, and then one student stood here, one student stood up here, and then they jumped onto the line or the space to show me where the note was. And and then I had split them up into half and half in the whole group. So then they just got points for their team if they were the first person to land correctly on the staff. So, this is a really nice note reading activity that the kids can do, and you don't have to do it with chalk. You could get a big old piece of butcher paper and let them draw on it, and it went over really well. The kids loved it.
Yeah, I thought this was a really neat idea too, because anytime we can get our kids moving, anytime we can get our kids engaged, and when you're outside, the amount of noise that you make is not as important. Possibly, but also, this could be a very quiet activity as well. So the kids are, they're active, they're involved, they're learning music theory, they're learning note reading, they're burning off steam, all pun intended. And so I thought this was just a really cool way to get kids to develop more music appreciation in a cool way. I said cool a lot there.
It's cool.
It is cool. Very cool.
Okay, so you have to play along with me here. There is a game that I play with the kids. There are no supplies. It's just a clapping game where they learn rhythms. Now, these rhythms here that I've listed on the left are actually pretty complex rhythms, but I've paired up the sound of a word, of a fruit, with the syllables that sound like the actual rhythms. So work with me here. So we're gonna say 4 grapes all together. Let's try it. Ready? Grape, 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 grape. Cool. Now do 4 apples. Apple, 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 apple. And you get the idea. Watermelon sounds like this. watermelon, and a strawberry. It's got an 8th note here and 16th notes there, so this is a little longer than that one. It goes strawberry, and then the other one is flip-flopped. It goes coconut. Who out there reads music? I'm curious. Do you guys know what these are? Looking in the chat box to see if you guys are there. Okay, awesome.
All right.
Very good. All right, it's okay.
Welcome to the club, Amy. Actually, I'm learning. I'm learning again through osmosis. I'm learning.
So, but these little fruit rhythms, they identify that this is what 4/16 notes looks like, and it sounds like da 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 da. Watermelon. So this is what you need to set up the game called Poison. Poison is a very, very fun game. The kids love it. They want to play it all the time. So here's kind of what you need to get it set up. We're going to try this first. So I say there's 4 beats, 4 heartbeats, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to do the first 2 beats are an apple, then we've got a grape, and then an apple, and then another grape. So we're going to do it together. Ready, go. Grape, grape. Apple, grape. There you go. All right, and then we're gonna jump here to this one. So take a look at it first. I tell the kids to put up their fingertips and pinch the rhythm before we do it all together. So if you look at it, you've got apple, apple, watermelon, grape. So let's do it. Ready, go. Apple, apple, watermelon, grape. Are you guys with me? All right, so that's what you need for Poison. So here's the way it goes. You have a Poison rhythm. Poison is the clapping game. You play it and then they play it. Just a 4-beat thing. But there's one rhythm that they can't play. That's the Poison. If they play it, they're poisoned and they're out.
Kind of like an anti-Simon Says.
Yeah, exactly. This is a great game for listening skills, and it's quite. You can have them just tap it softly on their legs. So this is our Poison. We're going to play it for like 30 seconds here. So our Poison goes apple, apple, watermelon, grape. So take a look at it, pinch it on your fingers. I let the kids practice it. Da, 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 da. All right. So that's your Poison. That's what you don't want to clap back. They have to clap it if it's not Poison. If they can't just like not play, that they'll get out that way. All right. So we have. This is our Poison. I'm going to clap a rhythm, and you clap it back to me if it's not the Poison. Are you guys ready? All right. I'm going to take the silence as a yes.
We're trusting that you're playing along at home.
All right. Here we go. So grape, grape, apple, grape. So you should be clapping right now. All right. Good. Good job, Diana. And then. We're a different type of webinar than many, I would think. All right, here's another one. Apple, apple, grape, grape. You clap. Great. All right, here's your next one. Don't clap. Don't clap.
It's my favorite one where I don't have to clap.
Yeah. So that's Poison, and that's where you wouldn't clap. And if they clapped, if their hands even touch for a second, then they're out, and then it's done. All right. So Ryan's giving me the move along sound here now. Okay.
Thanks for playing along.
Thank you for playing along. But in truth, though, this is a really, really fun game. It's like I was saying before, it's quiet and it gets them doing some really, really complex musical rhythms. Their music teachers will be very, very grateful to you for doing this. And it gets them thinking. You can break this into a math lesson and talk about the fractions, that each rhythm is, and it relates to a lot of things. It gets them listening, and it's super fun. So that is Poison and your fruit rhythms.
All right, my turn. So how many people have ever used Scratch before? Has anybody out there ever used Scratch? Any of those techies?
Mm-hmm.
If not, that's okay. So, hey, all right, Katie.
Yay.
So, Scratch, if you've never seen it before, it's scratch.mit.edu. It is it's a web-based coding platform. Now, it's for teaching kids to code, although the more I use it, the better I get at coding, because it makes learning some coding techniques and makes learning programming much, much, much easier. There's lots of built-in lessons, there's lots of tutorials, and there's an absolutely enormous community that a lot of the programs and the games are made by kids, and it always makes me feel bad about my coding skills when the kids are way better than mine. But anyway, there's a pretty robust sound component to Scratch. And you're able to use the sounds. You're able to play sounds, record sounds. You're able to use different beats on a guitar. Different beats or different notes on a guitar, different notes on a piano. And then you can use coding blocks like you see in the middle right over here. You can use coding blocks to repeat and loop these. Now, using loops, using repeats, using wait blocks, these are all kind of coding terms and coding basics. So using this, you can create a pretty simple song or a pretty simple rhythm using programming, using coding. So it's a really neat connection, a really cool way to combine coding and programming, or coding and music. I've played with this a bit. It's pretty easy to start. It's kind of hard to make something that sounds really cool, but the process of learning how to do it, the process of investigating how the timing of these rhythms work, makes things quite a bit more accessible for our techies out there as well.
Yeah, this is something I've used a lot in my music. It is an hour. We only have a couple
5
minutes
left.
together. If you can record your voice, or you can record sounds, and then you can set it to be here in this sound area here. You can set it to, for example, play this sound, and then you select the sound you recorded from the drop down. Play this sound for so many beats or so many seconds. So you can really make a song in there if you are creative and stick with it. All right, so as we're wrapping up, just a couple additional resources. Up there, some iPad apps for music teachers that are very, very useful. And then Music Tech Teacher is a fantastic website. I use it now, and I used it when I was in the classroom, where we have this music teacher has created loads and loads of games. This webpage here just goes down. You can scroll down for a long time with super fun games and fun quizzes for the kids where they are learning music and rhythms and notes and everything. So definitely check it out, musictechteacher.com. So, just to wrap things up, adding the arts in STEAM and incorporating these programs in your library is really, really beneficial. And in music education, this is a TED Talk that I really would recommend checking out. It basically says that when you are actively practicing, your brain is active like everywhere, and the connections within your brain actually get stronger the more you practice, where playing music makes you smarter. Essentially, that is true because it just combines all those pathways, so there are long-term positive effects. It's like a full body workout when you play. So this is one of many benefits to music education. So thank you so much for joining us. If you guys have any questions, comments, complaints, let us know. We're happy to help. We have tons of resources and lessons, and if you have anything, we would love to assist you, and we hope you enjoy.
And again, if you adopt that mindset about how we can give our kids the most opportunities, to be successful. If they never get a chance to try, then they'll never get a chance to succeed. So, it's up to us, as educators in a non-traditional setting, to provide these opportunities for kids. So the more ways we can do that, the more ways we can reach them, the better off we're all going to be. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, guys. We hope you enjoyed.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thanks for
And
playing
thank
along
you,
with my
Ryan and
music games.
Hillary. And thank you, Ryan and Hillary, for a
We
wonderful
know Aaron was
webinar.
playing.
I certainly was. Um, if everyone enjoyed this webinar, please be sure to join us next month on July 6th for the STEAM Games, teaching through games and competitions. My apologies. Also, we hope you will join us next week for a couple webinars. We have Tuesday, June 13th, DigiRef Academy. You can get there from here, beginning research in hospitality. And on Friday, June 16th, we have Accessibility Points, S is for Special Needs. We hope you all have a great day and look for your message from the Florida Library listserv, the Swifflin listserv. Check the Florida Library training calendar or look on the Swifflin training calendar for any upcoming webinars in the months ahead. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
And thank you, Diana.
Thank you.